Okay, we're live.
I like, hey Peter, how's it going?
Good. Turning Instagram on, so Instagram is live now too. Okay, cool.
Okay, we're live.
Yeah, so Siang and I collectively, we've managed about $500 million in ad budgets. And there's these lessons that we've learned over and over and over, right? Sometimes painfully learn the same lesson over and over. And so what we want to do is jump on here, go live. We've been doing a few days now to give you kind of bite-sized pieces of that story, kind of micro dosing our career for you guys, so that if you want to scale a campaign to $100 million in ad spend, there are, you know what you need to do. And so, yeah, that's the context for today. Today, we want to talk about AI and how we use AI. Obviously, this is a more new topic. In the past couple of ones, we talked more about these fundamentals and principles that are tried and true. Today, we'll talk a little bit more experimental, what we're doing right now, how we're using AI to help with some of these parts of the campaign building process. I'm a believer that you have to superpower every single part of, if you're an agency, superpower every single thing that your agency is doing with AI. And that's definitely possible these days. And if you're on the client side, if you have your own offers, like superpower or amplify everything that you're doing in that creation process with some of these AI tools that are there.
Yeah, there's really no part of your business that you should be leaving untouched by AI. It should be like an assistant to every single part of your business. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about some of our favorite ways, maybe from the creative side.
Yeah, the prompts are everything, right? So like if you run through AI and you think you're getting bad outputs, I would push it back on you and say like, hey, your prompts probably need some more attention and need to be reworked a little bit. And so one of the areas we use it is copy. We built out a prompt generator to pull all of the essential context into, the prompt when we run it on ChatGPT or whatnot. I think that now we might do it differently. When we first built it out, the custom GPTs didn't exist. And so maybe now we might put more of it in a custom GPT. However, I haven't seen the custom GPTs actually remember it well enough, right? So maybe we need to test it more, but I still like having the context in our prompts.
And
We
I mean,
put, go ahead.
I was just saying that those prompts can kind of pull in all of those different parts of what you would do in like kind of a creative brainstorming session, right? So like who's your audience? What channels is this going to run on? What is the promo? And then now you're even allowed to plug in the URL itself, use all of this information and I mean, merge it all into a prompt generator, it's what we call it, and then upload a full brainstorming session, copy session, ad copy, script copy, landing page, everything.
Yeah. On our prompt generator, we defined the promo, the context for the promo, the goal of the promo, words you can't mention for the promo. We do it for the client, so words you can't mention, the client context, and we do it for the channel. So there's the instructions, there's the words you can't use, and there are the expected outputs. And so we define all of that and put it in. But then what's great is that we can put in other stuff too. I've written ad copy for a guru and plugged in the transcript of their webinar and said, write in his voice. And then I get this ad copy that sounds like it's in his voice. And like the transcription is another cool use of AI.
Totally.
Right, where the webinar was 3 hours long, and so yes, I watched it like 4 times, but the transcript saved my life. Where I ran it through some tool, got the transcript out, and I think that ChatGPT will even write the transcript for you now. There's some plugin or something that will do it. And so when I was physically writing actual copy for that client, I could just look at it, copy and paste what I wanted to pull out. And again, I'm like writing in my client's actual voice because I'm just copying this sentence directly out of his webinar or something.
Yeah, and if you're like a super skilled copywriter, you could even record your sessions of going through the copy and kind of, I like this for this reason, this is like the tone of voice I would use, and then upload your own transcripts back in and get it to think more like you.
Yeah. Yeah. If you look at these Mid-Journey prompts, like if I go to Mid-Journey, plug in some stuff, it's going to look like AI. But if you're a photographer and you tell it like the photographer speak of use this lens and all of those settings that you would use if you were a photographer, you get photorealistic stuff coming out of it. And so it's exactly the same with copywriting. If you just go say, write me some ad copy for whatever, ChatGPT doesn't know, right? But if you go in there and give really pointed instructions and fight back a little bit, give feedback, no, focus more on this or more like this, then you'll get the better quality outputs coming out.
Yeah. I know in ours, we kind of use two types, right? It's like a direct to sale angle. And then what was the other one we used?
So we define a variable on there called directness. And so we have high direct copy and we have low direct copy. So like an example of this is we ran ads for a health supplement. And so in that health supplement, we had run some that was in the voice of your local doctor. And then we ran some that was in the voice of Dr. Oz. And we ran it both with both settings on, high direct, low direct. And what we found is that high directness with Dr. Oz's voice is compelling, right? Because Dr. Oz is pitching products and stuff. You kind of expect an infomercial, right? Your local doctor does not speak to you like that. And so the high directness copy just wasn't natural. And so it depends on the product, the offer, the spokesperson voice that you're using, the type of guru that you have in the promo, all of those things matter. But what we do is we triangulate in on the right prompts where you run it both ways, A/B test it, say, okay, in that scenario, we like those two I mentioned. And so we use those two and maybe we test those two against each other. Which ones do we like the best? Which ones perform the best? Or you swap in a new spokesperson for it.
Yeah. And I think people really shouldn't be afraid of being critical, and ask for a high volume. Like, I want 10 versions of this, 20 versions of this. And if you like two of those, put those two back in and say, kind of, we're getting closer. It's like fine tune, but like, these are the two that stand out of, where I don't think it's quite there yet where everything's coming out perfect. But we're getting closer for sure.
Yeah. The strategy works because of volume and time efficiency, right? So we don't spend a lot of time editing. Sometimes we spend too much time editing it, but we're supposed to not spend so much time editing it. Supposed to just discard things we don't like, cut it off the list, and then test a large volume of copy and get more insight. So the volume has value. We tested it at the beginning of last year. So obviously things have changed quite a bit, but at the beginning of last year, ChatGPT wrote better copy than I did. And I wrote better copy than Google Bar. So halfway job security. But then there's just a volume thing, right? Like if we had just cherry picked one headline out of ChatGPT, who knows if it would have been the top performer. But when we can test 10 times or 100 times more copy from it, that's how you find good ad headlines. It's not because you wrote perfect ad headlines. It's because you tested a lot of ad headlines.
Yeah.
And so the volume is a big part of making it work. And then there's other AI tools that we use to make it work. So we talked about the content generation side. There's also the data analysis side where you can run your numbers through an AI tool. You can get data evaluation off of those numbers. And then you could run the next 100 batch of headlines through that same machine learning model and then get the machine learning model's ideas on the top performers and then test new headlines that have had some degree of vetting already, which it's all about like pulling up the floor on your testing so performance is improving and improving.
Yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing where it's going to be, it's not, we ran these versions of copy and they did well. We're looking at the data and then we're saying, let's write more copy like this to where we can get these AI tools to make those decisions for themselves, right? Like these were the top 3 performing ones. I'm going to input those 3 back in. I've made you 20 new batches every Monday that are in line with those top 3 versions. And so it's kind of taking out that analysis step for us and doing it for us, and then using that to prompt future iterations of creative.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get another, like, some of the value is not even in AI. It's just in automation in general.
Completely.
And so like Zapier can help us do a lot. Like one of the things we'll talk about on these live videos is just organization. And Zapier can organize your drive folders, everything. It's just a matter of like using these tools that have been around for a long time, right? And so I think the organization part of it is a big part of it. Siang and I both worked for an agency where probably 80% of the work was done by 5% of the people, right? The rest of the people are just passing things across, not even thinking critically about what's coming across your task list. And like, I would rather have Zapier ping ChatGPT and spit out that it's like rough draft. But let's be honest, a lot of what these humans have been working on is rough draft quality.
Right.
And so it will require some edits anyways. And so I think that we're at a spot where you could get rough draft for anything pumped out through ChatGPT with the right prompts. And you can connect your Zapiers to custom GPTs, right? If you tailor a GPT, you can make whatever they call it assistant, and then Zapier will connect to that. So you can send these prompts. Obviously, you could connect Zapier to like our prompt generator, for example, and send fully developed prompts through, or you could just send the shorter ones through to your custom GPTs and have the context and put it on the GPTs, and then have Zapier send it to a Google Doc. You could have them put it in your Slack channel or something and spit this stuff out, organized in a way that you're going to be using it.
Yeah. And then I think recurring, right? You want this to happen after every, 30 days of data, every 1 week of data. It just starts prompting these chains through automation and through AI. And then, of course, humans make errors and automation does not, obviously, if your rules are set up correctly. And so anytime we can put those blockades in, we do.
Yeah. When we make our strategies, we map out variables that we want to test, right? We'll map out all these different variables that we want to test. And the weird thing with the data is that now we have data that gives you feedback on even variables you didn't define. It gives feedback off the whole data set. And so then you're starting to identify these variables that were not part of your test that probably should be part of your test. And the next time around, they will be part of your test. And then again, you're pulling up that floor on your testing each and every time and getting better and better performance. A lot of people do creative testing and they just like go to a conference room, throw out ideas, is not connected to results at all. So one of the ways that we've been able to scale campaigns in the past is what we call data-driven brainstorming, where you're not just throwing out random ideas, you're looking at like what made our best ads. What can we learn from that? Let's write copy or produce creative in line with that and then run that back. And like we did the old-fashioned way with pivot tables and whatnot. Now you can do that in real time and find all of these things and just like improve the performance. If you do it the old-fashioned way, you're not getting better creative every time. You're just getting new creative. And this way we actually get better creative and obviously some things don't work, right? But you're finding things that are bigger and bigger winners each time we're running it through.
Yeah. And I mean, as humans, we're naturally biased, right? We come in, we have an opinion, we think some copy is going to work, and it can be so hit and miss. And if the data is not driving those decisions, we're spinning our wheels.
Yeah. Whenever I bet on one variable, it always loses. Like anytime I find myself saying like, this is the perfect ad, I'm going to go all in on this. Whenever I bet on one pony, it doesn't pan out for me. And so, yeah, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a good ego check. Like we always think we know what's correct and, we use our best judgment based on our years of experience in the industry. But I mean, we often get surprised, and running so many different variants that are, wildly diverse, I think gives us just a lot more touch points where, I mean, we might never have gone in that angle at all. Never had the time to.
Yeah, and the market is changing and these advertising platforms are changing, and you have to kind of look at it with fresh eyes, which AI does, right? We're in the heat of it. So there was this problem 2 years ago where Google Ads really, really changed. It didn't work at all. Like today, it doesn't work like it worked a year ago, a year before that. It didn't work like the year before that. And so we had my head like, okay, I know how to do Google Ads. I've done this like 12 years or something. I know how it's done. I'm going to use the same process. And then I'm using this process for a platform that just doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And then using AI, well, first of all, have enough running that you can learn, right? You're not just betting all in on one thing, but then having it connected to AI, you can see like, okay, hey, your strategy doesn't work anymore. You kind of need to pivot it a little bit, which that's another principle of ours too, is a decision-making log, right? When we make big changes on a campaign, we record the change, why we made the change, what we expected to get out of that change. So you can kind of start learning like, hey, you made this decision 4 times. It didn't work any of those 4 times. So maybe you need to stop making the decision that way. But AI definitely is like helping make some of that stuff more apparent more quickly.
Yeah.
What else? Is there anything else? Obviously, there's like biz dev tools and stuff like that. I think this is the big part of it. So I don't know if I have anything else to add on this topic.
I think we're good. And we'll have another short session to kind of go over more of these topics in the future.
For sure. Well, thanks, Yang, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Peter. Bye.